are now tuned into the Clout101 Marketing Podcast.
Do anything for clout.
Dissecting the marketing strategies behind the most influential people, brands, and moments in culture.
A whole lot of people need to hear this.
Today is your day.
Power your hustle with the Clout101 Marketing Podcast.
Hey guys, it's Chizzy Duru here.
This is your girl Chanel, and you are now tuned into
Clout101.
Clout101 Podcast.
And now your host, Idia Ogala.
Welcome to the Clout101 Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Idia Ogala. On Clout101, we talk to some of the most successful people across different industries and decode the marketing strategies behind some of the most iconic brands, campaigns, and moments in culture. On today's episode, we have a very, very special guest joining us. Amobi Okugo is a professional soccer player, entrepreneur, media host, and philanthropist who has been recently recognized as a Forbes 30 Under 30 recipient. Amobi is the founder of a Frugal Athlete, an online financial media platform that promotes prudent financial practices and smart career decisions for professional athletes and students. A Frugal Athlete essentially helps athletes make, manage, and multiply their money through financial education and empowerment. On this episode, we discuss how athletes can build a brand that transcends their playing career. We also talk about the importance of networking with intention. And also, Amobi provides a lot of resources to help you grow your brand or business today. We are so excited for you to check out this episode. I think there's a lot to learn, regardless of your status. If you're a former athlete, if you're a current athlete, if you're just someone who's a go-getter working in corporate, if you're building your own brand and your own business, there's a lot of gems that Amobi throws your way. So we think that you'll have a blast listening to this episode. One call to action, we ask that you please go check out the first 5 episodes. If you liked this one, there's a lot of value. Again, we have Paulina Reed, we have Maddie J, Chizzy Duru, Chanel Delisser, and Lavish Ruby. So we ask that you check out those 5 episodes and tell me what you think. And also be sure to head to your favorite podcast directory and please leave us a rating or a review. That will do a lot for us. Really appreciate it. And again, hope you enjoy. Amobi Okugo. Peace. All right. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you very much for joining. I appreciate it. I think we've been missing each other over the last couple of months.
Yeah. Make it work. Busy.
Yeah. Definitely busy on both sides, but I appreciate it. Today's a preseason game for you. So to take the time after, a game to kind of, check in and have this conversation, I think that's amazing. So thank you very much. And I think that the folks who are tuning in will, really enjoy everything that you have to offer, from your insights, your experiences and all that stuff. I think this is a very unique conversation. Haven't had an athlete on the podcast yet. So, I appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you. And the podcast that you've done so far, I've tapped into like everyone. So, and I know we've known each other for quite some time, like online, but to officially like get together and connect, that's what it's all about. So
definitely building and, sharing experiences. And I think that's the name of the game, especially this past year, being able to kind of get online and build relationships and, try to support one another. So I appreciate that.
Most definitely. That's what it's all about.
For sure. All right. So I think we're going to jump in. This is like the most generic interview question ever, but I think it's important to obviously set the stage for the listeners who don't know you, to definitely understand who you are and what kind of has driven you, contributed to your evolution. So, who is Amobi? Describe yourself in a few words, talk about your upbringing. I want to hear it all.
All right. Most definitely. So yeah, I'm Amobi Okugo, first generation Nigerian American, born and raised in California, Sacramento to be exact. Grew up playing soccer and basketball until soccer kind of took over. Had the fortune and pleasure of playing at a high level at a very young age. Traveled all around the world to compete, for the youth national teams. Went to residency, so basically boarding school in Florida for 2 years of my high school living. Basically represent the U17 national team, workout, breakfast, train, lunch, school, train some more. Did that for 2 years. Came back to Sacramento to finish the rest of my senior year. Went to UCLA after my rookie season or freshman year. Went pro. So 2010, I had the fortunate pleasure of getting drafted in the MLS first round to Philadelphia. Spent 5 years there. signed a new contract with Orlando, bounced around to Kansas City, Portland, was a free agent for a year, and then most recently, the past 3 years, been playing with Austin Bolt in the second division. So that's the rundown from a soccer standpoint. Oldest of 4 siblings, 2 brothers, 1 sister. Started a couple businesses, one being a Frugal Athlete, where it's an online financial media platform that promotes prudent financial practices and smart career decisions amongst professional athletes and student athletes. All about collaborating, all about connecting. Yeah, that's it.
You said that's it. That's a lot.
Yeah, my bad.
That's a lot, but it's very concise and to the point. So I appreciate that. I heard a lot. Obviously, I'm looking at a whole bunch of notes right now on my screen of everything I want to kind of jump into. And you literally touched on, line by line, different things that I had top of mind. But I think the first thing that stands out, being a Nigerian, first generation Nigerian American as well, is that upbringing. I read somewhere that your parents only allowed you to go pro after your freshman year, due to academics. So based on your academic performances, right? I'm just curious to know, like, what our Nigerian culture did for you in terms of shaping who you are, shaping your outlook on your professional career, obstacles in general, life in general. Just what was that like, and how did your parents play a major role in impacting you, influence you to become the man that you are today?
Man, it's so much, to be honest. My parents, they sacrificed so much. And, anyone, especially first generation immigrants, was mainly Nigerian Americans, especially being the firstborn. I was kind of like the guinea pig. They had to learn along the way. They were more hard on me, but for me, I think it was a blessing, to be honest. Just the sacrifices that they had to make, understanding hard work, understanding resilience, understanding how to navigate certain things when it comes to politics and, different culture norms and stuff like that. But when it comes to education, that's like a major thing. So I had the opportunity to go pro right out of high school. My parents were not having it. They said, they didn't sacrifice to come here for me to just go pro and forget about schooling. So I went to UCLA, and then the opportunity came again. But I was fortunate enough that the contract that was offered was going to take care of my education. So I had to convince my mom especially that I would finish my degree, while I was playing. So once we agreed to that, then I was able to go pro. But, simple things like that, like finishing what you started, being of good character, respecting others. These are all lessons that I've been able to apply to my everyday life, as I've become an adult.
You mentioned the contract, right? We'll take care of the education. Is that, obviously I never played professional soccer, so is that standard in terms of the MLS when a young player, right, goes straight into the professional leagues? Or is that something that you had to negotiate before you even, took the opportunity to play?
That's a great question. So at the time, MLS, Major League Soccer, they were really trying to entice the growth of the game in the States. So they had a Generation Adidas deal. So it was basically enticing underclassmen to go pro at an earlier age. And with that, they would reimburse education up to 10 years. Usually that would be the standard, but you could negotiate it. So basically, you'd have an allotted amount of money through their partnership with Adidas, where you would get compensated or reimbursed for your education. So after my freshman year at UCLA, we had a pretty good year. I did pretty well. I got the Generation Adidas offer. And with that, my parents negotiated it in terms of, because I left school earlier than most of the other kids, the reimbursement had to be different. But that's kind of how it worked. Now it's a little bit different. They still have Generation Adidas, but they also have homegrowns and all this other stuff. But yeah, it's a combination of what MLS offered and then a combination of what you can negotiate.
Got it. And then another thing that kind of stands out is, all right, so I played basketball in high school, was trying to make it, to the NBA like everybody else, right? Everybody else in New York, everyone else in America, I'd say. So I played competitively in high school. When I realized that I wasn't, going to grow to be so tall, or maybe I had some limitations in terms of my game, I was always pushed by my parents and to kind of always, frame things. Your option A and B needs to be what you're focusing on in terms of academics, in terms of, what you're passionate about, what you're good at, play basketball, do it to the best of your ability. If it materializes, now you have two, but it's almost like I grew up with that. While I had the mentality of people around me that I wanted to make it to the NBA, I was working hard to do that. I always knew that there was other things that I needed to also focus my efforts on. So I play basketball, come home, and then I'm blogging, or I'm writing about stuff, or I'm reading publications, and just doing different things to kind of exercise other areas of my brain. So my question is, the fact that your parents had that stance on professional sports, how did that contribute to your ability to almost like split focus relative to other people who might have been focused squarely on soccer and then maybe not have these interests, these passions to be able to develop projects, develop companies while they're playing? Because that's a skill in and of itself, to be able to juggle two high performing things. You're recognized by Forbes for a frugal athlete, but you're also playing at a high level and represent, a specific percentage of people in the world who can play professional sports. So how much of your parents and their stance contributed to you being so multifaceted?
Man, to be honest, I think it has to do with everything because, so like, for example, my parents weren't going to let me play sports unless I kept my grades up. So I always valued my education, always had to make sure my grades were up to the standard to let me play competitive soccer, let me play competitive basketball. And then the fact that at the time growing up, I was playing, before soccer took over, I was playing competitive AAU basketball and competitive soccer. So I had to balance, traveling, practice, and, do my homework. So in terms of time management, productivity, all these things, these are skills that I didn't even know about, but I was able to acquire just by doing. And then my parents, they both work 9 to 5s, and, the school we went to, I would have to stay in the after school program. So we'd do at extended, instead of just like playing around and stuff like that. Me and my buddies, we would like finish our homework. So then when we got home, we can focus on, going to practice and not having to come back home after practice late at night, trying to, study and doing this stuff. So it all played a role indirectly until I realized, okay, now I'm actually pro, and I'm taking classes. And it wasn't like I was doing like 8 classes per semester. It was just knocking them little by little. 2 classes in the fall, 2 classes in the spring, 3 classes in the summer. And over time, 6 years down the road, that's when I got my bachelor's. And then a year later, my master's, and then executive education. So all these things that I was doing at a younger age helped lead me to be able to do the things that I'm doing now.
So transitioning to your playing career, right? You went pro in 2010, correct?
Yeah.
2010. So a little over 11 years, if my math is correct, right? And that's not something to downplay at all, right? I don't know what the numbers are now, but I know the average life of a professional, athlete is probably less than 11. It's not 11, right? So you've kind of overextended yourself, and you've overexceeded expectations in that realm. Just talk to me about your 11-year career, if you can summarize it, in a few words, if you could talk about maybe just the experience that you've been able to kind of garner over the last decade, how that's also contributed to who you are today.
No, I mean, that's a great question. I think one word that sticks out is just, it goes by quick. I can remember like yesterday, like when I first got drafted, and now 11, 12 years later, still playing. So I don't take it for granted. It's a blessing. But through soccer, I've been able to gain so many different experiences, learn so many different cultures. Soccer is the global game, so I'm playing with, people from all over the world, and I've been able to, build those relationships and build those communities through my play, playing for different teams, different communities, different things like that. So that's what sticks out right away. But like I said before, it goes quick. Guys you think that are going to have long careers are done before you know it, whether it's because of injuries or different coaching decisions, or just it never pans out. So just very fortunate and grateful that I've been able to play this long, and hopefully keep it going until I find my next game.
Yep, for sure. What was the unique nature of this year? Obviously, like the pandemic, this, unfortunate situation has, pretty much shaken the whole world, right? Everyone had to, find different ways to adapt. People had to, find, ways to survive in a sense that they've never, experienced before in their lives. So what were the impacts on you, maybe you, your team, in terms of the sports aspect, but also were there any opportunities that were presented from all this stoppage in time that allowed you to contribute, energy and effort to other areas that you're obviously interested in?
Yeah. So from a soccer standpoint, it was like a shot in the gut, because we literally, like when COVID started, and it's almost like a year to the day when it first started affecting everything, we were on a flight to LA for our away game. By the time we landed, we got news that everything was canceled or postponed. So instead of flying back to Austin, I flew up to Sacramento. I was like, I'm just going to still chill with my family. Next thing I know, another week goes. Next thing I know, it's 2 weeks. Next thing I know, it's a month. So I ended up telling one of my homies, I was like, yo, I'm going to need you to go to my spot, pack up a bag. I'm going to be in Cali for a while.
Exactly.
So just that adjustment alone, it's like you always have to be prepared. I know we're probably going to get into personal finance and money management later. Like always have a backup plan, always have an emergency fund and different things like that from the soccer standpoint. A lot of self-motivation because now, coaches training, they're not with you. So are you going to stay fit? Are you going to, work on your own game while you don't really know what's going on or what's going to happen next? And then off the field, as unfortunate as it is, I don't want to downplay what COVID has done to a lot of people. It was a blessing in disguise, in terms of being able to really hone in on a Frugal Athlete and some of the other projects that I'm doing, kind of analyze some things that I'm doing right, some things that I'm doing wrong, and kind of double down and kind of change our philosophy in ways we go about our business. So I was able to do a lot more, get out in front of a lot more people. More people were willing to, meet, get on Zooms and do different things like that. Podcast numbers started going through the roof because people had more time. And then it was just like, how do I double down and how do I take advantage of an unfortunate situation and kind of turn it into a blessing?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, people have been impacted by it differently. Obviously, we feel for all the people who've lost family members during this time. I have a lot of extended family members that, unfortunately, passed due to the virus. On the bright side, though, as you said, being able to figure out how to make the most of a bad situation, in talking with a lot of people like yourself, a lot of them have that common theme that they were able to. It's almost like a good time to just sit down, be still, be strategic, think about things, get your mental health, your physical health, all that stuff up to order. But also you have time to reflect on different areas that you can expand your knowledge, your skill set, and then how you can kind of reshape your business. I think it's been an interesting year, to say the least. So I'm curious, when you started playing, right, what was your relationship with money? I mean, obviously now, 11, 12 years later, we know, your stance and what you're building and how you're trying to, provide those resources for athletes, right? But when you got started, was the mission the same? Or did you have a different understanding and relationship with money that maybe forced you to get involved and create a Frugal Athlete?
Nah, so fortunately for me, my parents did a great job of, raising me and my siblings to think about money differently. I would say my rookie year, it was more defensive. So obviously there's, different, and everyone has their own style when it comes to money management and how they go about it. There's many ways to the top of the mountain. For me, I was just defensive. Don't lose, don't work this hard to make this money and lose it. So my signing bonus, I put it into a CD, a certificate of deposit. So basically, I didn't really make any money off it, but it was more just, all right, I'm not going to spend it. I'm not going to be able to touch it. But me and my dad always talk about, in hindsight, if I had more of a common knowledge on different ways to use that money to make more money, I might just be chilling in Hawaii right now, not really focused on, playing and doing all these projects. So just understanding, not everything has to be hold, defense. There's ways to invest strategically, intelligently to hopefully build that nest egg, that generational wealth, that financial stability that we all seek to have.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartely. And I mean, I will say though that, playing defense is better than blowing it, right? So
Yeah,
it's like,
facts.
it's definitely is a positive there, at least now as you've gotten older and you've learned more about the different ways to diversify and all that stuff, being aggressive, but also, having the safety blanket and all that stuff. At least you have something there to then be able to put to work for you.
Exactly.
So I think that's a positive takeaway. So can you talk to us a little bit about a Frugal Athlete? From my research, from, checking out your other interviews and stuff like that, part of why you built this platform is, to help you kind of help athletes leverage the sacrifices they've made and not let it go to waste. And you mentioned something about the more leverage you have, the better decisions you make and the more control you have. So can you just speak to, the inception of a Frugal Athlete and just how finances are tied to leverage?
No, all right, perfect. So yeah, no, I touched on it earlier, but a Frugal Athlete's an online financial media platform that promotes prudent financial practices and smart career decisions amongst professional athletes. I mean, our main goal is to help athletes make, manage, and multiply their money through financial education and athlete empowerment. It all stemmed from watching the 30 for 30 Broke documentary. Growing up, early in my career, I always thought I was pretty good about my finances, but, watching that documentary, especially with those players and being in the NBA, NFL, MLB, other sports that get compensated more than soccer players in the States, it was really eye opening. So I was almost like, all right, how can I find athletes that I want to model, how I do things in my career after that aren't from this documentary? And what I kept finding were like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, Tom Brady, Serena Williams. And while those are athletes that we can definitely take principles from, those are anomalies. They're going to be good long after their careers are over, no matter what they do because of their careers. And not every athlete is like that. So when it came to a frugal athlete, I wanted to kind of create an ecosystem where we could learn about all these financial terminologies and financial roadmaps that athletes have made and kind of go from there. So originally started out as a passion project, and then now we've been hopefully doing a better job of building it out to an actual business, which I think we have. So we have a podcast network, newsletter, written content, audio content. But more importantly, we do have courses and we do workshops, speaking engagements, and small time financial coaching just to help athletes change the behavior around finances and then also provide roadmaps. So ideally, you come onto a frugal athlete, you want to learn about real estate. You have a whole bunch of athlete content, athlete courses, examples of athletes that have gotten to real estate in different ways, whether it's wholesaling, flipping, corporate, all these different ways that you can get into real estate that people may not know about. Like, for example, I just had a podcast with Devon Kennard, Arizona Cardinals. He's a guy that not a lot of people know about unless you're a football fan, but this guy is one of the bigger real estate guys in the NFL. He has over 20 investment properties, doing a great job, just a great guy. But if we don't talk about these stories and provide solutions to some of the questions that we have, we won't end up getting better. So that's what a frugal athlete's all about. I'm trying to do a better job of being more open with my own story too. That's kind of the gist of it.
I like that. I'm a firm believer that you can't be what you can't see, right? And that diverse set of experiences that allows you to kind of latch on to what you align with. That's not only applicable in corporate with diversity and inclusion. It's also, as you mentioned, being an athlete and seeing and hearing stories from people who are on your level, right? LeBron is in the top 1%, right? When it comes to all these athletes, as you mentioned. So there are a lot that aren't seeing, $1 billion, lifetime contract, right? They're not being put in these equity-based conversations, right? They have to maybe create that for themselves. So I like that because it could be daunting if a guy's making, 1/30 of what LeBron's making and trying to figure out how to maintain that specific lifestyle, but also be able to be fiscally responsible. I'm sure there's a segment of athletes that have that struggle, and definitely platforms like this definitely help them. A little bit on the 30 for 30. I feel like in general, I feel like that documentary did so much, man. Like it came out, 2012. And it's almost like from that moment, athletes took a different pride when it comes to being able to be on top of their finances. That coincided with like a information boom, obviously, right? Yeah. Like we have all these podcasts, all these entrepreneurs becoming like superstars, right? They're on par with LeBron and all these guys. So it's almost like the information boom, and then that embarrassment from that documentary kind of spearheaded people focus more on like, listen, I got to get my shit together, so that I don't end up like these guys in these documentaries blowing all this money. So just can you speak more personally about like what that documentary did for you? You had your stuff in order, but can you just speak to that and then just the evolution you've seen over the years from 2012 to now?
No, yeah, you bring up a great point. Just from the information standpoint, just like, I had no idea, or like, that's possible. This guy's making millions of dollars. So it's like, all right, if this guy's making millions of dollars and that's happening to him based on my salary, that could happen to me too if I'm not even more frugal or more in tune with, how I'm spending my money. So it was almost like a shock to a lot of athletes personally, because they had those tough conversations with themselves. They're like, I'm not trying to be on, if they have a broke too, I'm not going to be on it. So it was more of a situation where it's like, this could be you. I know everyone talks about it. Everyone's like, oh, that's never going to happen to me. That's not going to happen to me. I'm good, until you see it, happen. So for Broke documentary, it changed a lot of lives for a lot of athletes, and for the better. Now people are talking about different things that they're doing, how to leverage their capital, how to leverage their career. And then for me personally, it was all about all right, how can I find a roadmap of athletes that I can look up to and figure out, you know, how to best maximize my career, to build financial stability, not just while I'm playing, but after I'm playing. So, yeah, it was a game changer. And you brought up a great point about LeBron James. And, athletes is tough because imagine being in Lakers locker rooms. Like, I'm competing with LeBron James every day. We're making the same shots. We're competing against each other. So how come I can't spend like Ken? So that competitive ego mindset, it affects athletes more than we know. And it's all about, being able to be open and transparent with where we're at in our careers. If I'm on a rookie deal, I can't spend like someone that's been on their third or fourth, fifth deal on a max contract. Just because we compete and we play the same sport, that doesn't mean we're at the same level.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I was just going to say, I'm sure everyone saw that documentary, but for folks that didn't, I was just going to give a brief overview that is an ESPN produced documentary just highlighting like the monetary issues that a lot of big time athletes have had over the years. A couple of stats that kind of stood out. They said by the time they've been retired for 2 years, 78% of former NFL players have gone bankrupt or are under financial stress. And then on the NBA front, it says within 5 years of retirement, an estimated 60% of former NBA players are broke. So that was the documentary that me and Amobi were referencing. It'd be interesting to see what these numbers are now in 2021. For the NBA specifically, I could tell you it's not even close to that. It's not that anymore because the pride that both, we did internally to focus on financial literacy, the pride we took there, and then even just the athletes, again, it being popularized that financial literacy is important and it's cool. They've done a lot of amazing things. As you mentioned before, like a lot of guys in the league been living off endorsement deals, not the actual salary. Guys who aren't LeBron and Steph have been getting in equity deals instead of just like straight cash. I forgot the player's name. I forgot, and I'm gonna kill myself after this. But a player, I think 2 years ago in the NBA, took an endorsement deal with the fintech company, and this.
Oh, young cat.
Yeah, was it Jason Tatum?
What's his name? He got drafted to like Chicago, and I was like, I reached out to Wealthfront. I personally, I was like, yo, this is what it's all about. I know I'm not at that level to get some type of deal like this, but I would love to like highlight this story because this is a game changer.
Was it Wealthfront or Wealthsimple?
Wealthsimple, you're right, because they used to do those monthly articles on athletes.
Yeah, Mikal Bridges.
Yep.
Yeah, Mikal Bridges. So his deal, I think the majority of his payment was invested into an ETF, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
They got to update.
So his dad is, yeah, seriously, that's a good case study. That's a good case study. But yeah, so definitely things are shifting in the right direction. I think platforms like a Frugal Athlete are contributing to it to get people the information they need and just make them feel like they're empowered, not feeling nervous to have these conversations. Because I think part of it is like, if I'm not comfortable talking about these things, and I'm not saying me, but just in general, if I'm an athlete and I'm not comfortable talking about it, I can either be vulnerable and say I'm not comfortable and get help, right? Or I could, just act like I'm cool, just act like everything is all good, and then you blink and your net worth is depleted. So I got you there. In terms of finance and the link to leverage, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So, for example, a lot of athletes, it's very rarely you're going to be at one team for the whole time of your career. But a lot of times, because these GMs and coaches know you may be in a situation where, the finances aren't in order, you sign the first contract that comes your way. Where if you're a player that has leverage, like, so for example, Russell Okung or any other player we can name them, where it's like, all right, I'm thinking strategically around, all right, do I want to play in a state that has no state income tax? Do I want to play on a team that gives me a better chance to win? So maybe I'm taking less money, but I'll probably make it up on the back end through appearances and playoff appearances because we have a better chance of, instead of just being like, I need this money now because, in the NFL, we get paid 17 weeks out the year and I spent it all not knowing that there's a whole year that I don't get paid. So first contract that comes, I'm signing it. Different things like that. I know we've talked about, or not talked about, but we've heard about DeAndre Hopkins, equity deals only. Before it's like, all right, just throw sponsorship. I'm signing it because it's money. It's like, hold up now. Let's see how we can make it work. Is there equity play? Is there an affiliate play? What's this brand campaign looking like? So now that athletes are understanding the leverage and the value that they bring and how they can be a value add, it's making all the difference for athletes.
Yeah, I agree 100%. A little bit more about a Frugal Athlete. Are there any platforms that exist that you're, kind of modeling this business after?
Yes and no. I would say a frugal athlete, essentially, we would love to be like a combination of, if you think Penny Hoarder, Business Insider, and Players Tribune all in one. So you're learning about financial literacy concepts through athlete stories in order to take it into and apply it to your own financial playbook. Some great platforms that talk about financial literacy. Obviously, you got Uninterrupted's platform, Kneading Dough. You got the Boardroom that does it kind of in a different way. I know you're a big fan of Earn Your Leisure. I'm a big fan of them. They talk about athlete stuff from time to time. Those type of platforms are amazing. I think the thing about what we do with the Frugal Athlete is because we tell stories through the athlete lens or break it down in sports terminology. So, for example, it's easy to tell someone to be diversified. It's easy to tell someone this is why you need to have money here, money there. But in terms of telling the story, like, all right, if you're a GM of a basketball team, how are you going to pick your team? You're not just going to have a bunch of rookies. You're not just going to have a bunch of veterans. You're not going to have just a bunch of mid-level guys. You got to have structure your team, or structure, if we want to use an analogy and bring it back to finances, you got to structure your financial playbook like a team. So you have, your big hitters, you have your utility players, you have your prospects, you have your, veteran, I don't want to say veterans, but veterans that are blue chips or value. And so you have all these different things that you kind of try to tell stories in a different way. And that's what we do with the Frugal Athlete. So that's the goal. Definitely take inspiration from some of the different companies that I've named. But yeah, that's kind of it right now.
And then you also mentioned that it started as a passion project, and now it's passion project to side hustle to business. Right. So what's, I guess, in the future for you guys in terms of continuing to scale? Do you have any plans in mind in terms of scale, in terms of marketing the business to be able to reach a broader audience? Because again, the concept is really, really dope. It's not just athletes that can benefit from this platform, right? It's everyone. But I just think that it has a unique approach in terms of that media consumption, in terms of that filtration process to let the athletes know, like, hey, listen, there's someone in this industry that's doing something that you're trying to do. Tap into this person, learn from this person, read this case study and replicate it in your community. So yeah, what do you have in plan? If it's confidential, it's okay. You don't got to disclose it.
No, it's not confidential. I think it's good because I started out as a passion project. I just was like writing blogs about athletes that I were like, he's what or she's what embodies what I think a frugal athlete's all about. This is what they've done with their career. This is how they leverage their capital and career. Let me just write about it. And I was like, this is cool, but people were like enticing to me. It was like, are you just gonna do blogs forever? How are you gonna make it into a business? And I was like, all right, up to the challenge. All right, so how do we do that? So then we started building it out as sort of like a media company, and every company at some point in some way is a media company. Brand matters no matter what you do. So now 2020 was all about kind of like reorganizing the foundation, the structure, thanks and no thanks to COVID. It was kind of by force. And then now it's like, all right, how do we scale? And a big thing with that is courses. I'm someone that's done online classes since I was 15 years old, being able, because I had to travel. And the way I was like, if I'm doing these classes and then I'm hearing about people doing courses, I think with the Frugal Athlete, that's kind of where we can make a majority of our revenue. So right now we have like a rookie mistakes course, basically a course that outlines the top mistakes that young athletes make before they come or while they are in the league. So it's all about trying to give yourself a head start and not having to play catch up. But there's so many different courses that we can make. So we want to make some courses in order to scale. We want to be able to build out our media. So from a podcast standpoint, how can we do collaborated content or build sponsorships and different things like that? We have a written aspect, so sponsored and guest posts that will help as well. Video content series. Also from a media standpoint, sponsorships and, brand collaborations. Personally, speaking engagements and workshops. And that has to do with me just being more out there and more in front. So now if you think about a frugal athlete, similar to you think like the points guy or a penny hoarder, they have like a name behind the voice. And then with that, hopefully we can get in front of more people through that. You mentioned the courses or the affiliate links. So for example, 5 financial books that every athlete must read. this year. And then you put the affiliate links and stuff like that. But those are the main ways. And then we do some financial consulting and like revenue generation. So a lot of niche athletes, you may not be fortunate enough to get those sponsorship deals, but there's platforms and marketplaces where you can sign up and, give yourself a better chance. There's ways you can do affiliate links. There's ways you can network. So we help out with that. We help out with budgeting. We're not financial advisors, so we're not going to help you invest in GameStop or Tesla or all these different things, but we can help you organize your budget, your emergency fund, your savings, how to, ask the right questions to your financial advisor if you have one, how to, go through the right process to check if the financial advisor you're looking to use is, of good standard. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's legit. Yeah. So that's kind of our rundown. And it's all about just making it come together, scaling up, and trying to build.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. This is so important. And anything I could do to help and connect the dots, please let me know.
Yeah, I need that Cases and Culture, the full book soon, so I can buy it and read it and apply it to my stuff.
That's the plan. I haven't started the volume 2, but I'm working on it.
But even to that point, you brought up a great point. Athletes can create like subscription platforms. Like during the COVID situation, there's a bunch of athletes doing live workouts, but no one put it behind and I'm not saying, obviously depending on how you feel, some people created communities around that. So now it's like, all right, you're doing free workouts, but now it's like, all right, you want to be like an athlete? All right, here's the actual things I do, like me personally, put it behind a subscription-based platform. And that's supplementing your income depending on how big your community is.
Yeah, that's smart. And the courses piece, I think it's also very important. It's very important, especially now in this digital era. Everyone is looking. People are becoming less focused on, I need to go to this accredited university. I need the landscape in terms of online media sources that are educating you. It's starting to open up. I think COVID, again, an accelerant, but obviously, as you mentioned, you've been doing it for a long time. So I think it's only to be that's another area where athletes can, kind of leverage their brand and their likeness by maybe partnering, like for example, yourself partnering with a financial institution or partnering with the financial influencer, and then being able to, create a course that, offers you as the case study model, right? To talk about like moments in your career that are digestible to other athletes, and then have the financial services representative, kind of breaking down exactly what you're talking about, applying actual strategies to what you're talking about to different stages of your career. That's a, again, partnership situation that,
you're trying to come on as an advisor, man. You out here giving the blueprint. Nah, you bring up a great point. That's what it's all about. That's like the game changer method right there.
For sure. That's the leverage for a lot of athletes, their status, their experiences, and then you partner with someone who can kind of relay that information and leverage your credibility. And then now you have a nice little partnership. 100% is 0-0, right? So, go 50-50 with the person, make some money, and the great thing about digital products is that, it's residual.
Forever.
You do it one time, focus on marketing efforts, from time to time, and then, you're good.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I'll definitely keep tabs. Let me know what I could do to support that.
No, most definitely.
For sure. Transitioning, congrats on Forbes 30 under 30. I think that's an amazing accomplishment. What did that recognition mean to you?
To be honest, it's hard to put into words because it was cool I'm not going to downplay, being able to be recognized Forbes 30 under 30, but I don't have Forbes money. They didn't give me no free Forbes subscription. So the work continues, but to be able to be recognized and, that, people give you another sense of credibility, to be recognized by such a esteemed platform company. It helps, put value to what I'm doing. It helps me put me in a different category of people that have been recognized for some of their achievements and some of their accomplishments. And, to be honest, it's helped me be more aggressive in how I, look for opportunities, because sometimes, athletes stepping into a whole new realm, you're a little bit shy because, this is not your lane, but, having that Forbes, and I'm not trying to say you should put value over everything else in terms of some of these accomplishments and some of the things that you have from a skill standpoint, but it helps me when I'm pitching to like a company. It's like, professional athlete, entrepreneur, got all the accolades in terms of degrees that you guys may use as an excuse, like, oh no, you're just an athlete. It's like, nah, I got that, I got this. And then now I have this Forbes 30 under 30. So it helps the open rate for emails a lot more.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but I don't want to put value like Forbes 30 under 30. So you have to, it's not nothing that has to be done. You have to prove your value, and you have to, be thankful for these opportunities. So yeah, that's kind of it.
You're entirely right. It's a great accomplishment. If you didn't get it, it doesn't mean a frugal athlete and all the stuff you're working on are invalid, right? But it does, from a branding, from a marketing standpoint, to get people to kind of shed the perceptions they have of an athlete when you're reaching out to pitch them on something. It kind of does help. As you mentioned, it shows that an external organization, one of the best that are doing what they're doing, gave you the stamp of approval. So it should make matters a little bit easier on your side. And then speaking of that stamp of approval of, some of those, I guess you could say, educational milestones, you also took the Harvard course, Executive Education Crossover into Business program. What was that like? And what did that do for, I guess, the evolution of how you position yourself as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a brand?
Yeah, it was a pivotal moment for me to take that class, especially when I did, because it was the year I was a free agent. So I took the crossover in the business program at Harvard with Professor Anita Elbers, and she's a game changer, one of the smartest minds that I've been able to come across. And just the mindset around some of the sports business moves that like people have gone through, you only see it from the outside. But when we were able to do the case studies, like get into the analytics, get into the numbers, get into the decision-making process of some of the things that we did. So we did a case study on LeBron and like the fact that should he sign a deal with 2K versus make his own game versus do something else. We did a Dwayne Wade case about his Lee Nang deal. We did The Rock. We did so many different cases that give you an understanding. It's like when you see something on the news, it's like, that's actually not really what happened. And now you're thinking deeper and deeper about like, okay, now I can see why he makes some of the decisions that he made. And so now I had the fortunate pleasure of doing an externship with Uninterrupted. And I'm thinking back to the case study I did a year or 2 years prior. And I was like, wow, it all makes sense. It's not just LeBron James with a bunch of money, throwing it at some of his projects. It's like there's a process to every decision that needs to be made, and every action has a reaction. And the crossover to business program just did a great job of highlighting that and exposing ourselves into a different mindset. As athletes, we do see it a little bit with our own situations and contracts and different things that we have to deal with. But at that high level, with the help of the second-year MBA students, being involved and just using different things like the talent life cycle is one thing that we talked about, different ways to, get a deal. So you got tiered, you got equity, you got leverage based on performance. It was all amazing.
I'd imagine some of those cases, I think some of them might be confidential, right? I've read a lot of the cases from Harvard Business School, but I would imagine the ones that you guys are reading in class are probably different from the one that's available to the public for us to kind of read and stuff, right?
Yes, I think so. I know we were highly recommended to not share some of the case studies, yeah. But she does have a book, Blockbusters, and there's some overlap with some of the case studies that we did. So I know you might have it in the show notes, but she came out with the book, Blockbusters, and it's a great insight to some of the case studies that we were able to go through and then really dive into. But yeah, it's definitely, especially for athletes, we definitely need to hear these stories and, apply it to our own playbooks. For example, diving into the Dwayne Wade, Lee Nang deal, I was definitely inspired in terms of different things, just from like an e-commerce standpoint of things that I can do personally, even though it doesn't play a direct role. I just take some of the principles and applied it over.
Yeah, I like that.
I think someone told me it best. It said, good artists copy, great artists steal. And I was like, that's kind of harsh. He was like, well, not steal, but they apply it to their own, situation.
Yeah.
So
I like that. Okay. So now I want to jump into a little bit of marketing and branding specific stuff, right? So I don't remember how we met. I think it had to maybe Twitter. I'm not sure what social media platform we initially connected on. But generally speaking, following you from LinkedIn and Twitter, on Instagram and stuff like that, and just seeing the way that you move and the way people talk about you, you seem to be a great networker, right? So can you just kind of speak to how social media has helped you be able to kind of craft a message and a narrative about yourself that's separate from your playing career. I think that's very important to get in the confidence and the leverage to be able to jump in these boardrooms and pitch these different ideas to leverage the professional stamp, right? Professional athlete idea, but to also be able to build that on your own as someone who's interested, who's curious, who's building something that's bigger than himself. So what has social media done for you? How do you refine your networking skills? Just talk about that. So any athletes who are listening from home and are trying to build that aspect of their being, they have some tips there.
Yeah, I mean, social media has been a game changer for me, not only, from a business standpoint, but personal standpoint. I think the biggest thing about social media, it just cuts out all the barriers. So if I'm interested in, for example, chess, I could just type in chess and follow some people that I may not have ever met, just because of social media, it just cuts out all the weeds that you don't have to go through. For me personally, I think when it comes to networking or actually let me start by, building your brand, it's sharing what you are passionate about and being authentic about it. And I'm not saying you have to share your deepest, darkest secrets, but, you just got to be willing to be open to, sharing something that you're excited about, you're passionate about, because there's always someone that is interested and there's always someone that can relate. And I think with that, you just gradually build out your network, build out your base, and people start to trust you because they can relate to you. When it comes to networking, I think the biggest thing is, I got this one from one of my homeboys, is following up. So for example, you connect with someone and y'all say y'all gonna meet Saturday, and they're waiting for your text or waiting for your email, and Saturday comes around, you just don't follow up. A lot of people just don't follow up. That's like the biggest thing when it comes to networking. Obviously, everyone gets busy and stuff like that, but even a simple like, yo, sorry, we missed each other, can we reschedule? That goes a long way, because I know you're busy, I'm busy, the corporate people that you may be trying to connect with too are certainly busy, but following up is just a level of like, okay, I care. I'm trying to be respectful of your time. Other than that, be more interested than interesting. And I know you had the legend Pollyanna talk about that. And I think that's just the biggest thing. Like when you're trying to meet with somebody and like, obviously they want to get to know you, but you flip it on them and ask them questions that, and about them, and especially successful people, they love sharing and they love trying to give back. But if you show interest in what they're doing, it can go a long way. And then now they're going to be more willing to help you out or go out of their way to help you. And then I don't want to say lastly, because I could keep going, but I think another one is trying to be a value add. So how can you help them in something that they're currently doing? So for example, if someone they're passionate about, like a charity that they support or something, if you want to give up a moment of your time to help volunteer or help spread the word for what they're doing, it could be as simple as like retweeting something that they posted. It could be something as, donating to their cause, some way, shape or form, try to be a value add. It'll go a long way in terms of, being reciprocated down the line. So those are 3 steps in terms of networking that I've been able to use that have also helped me throughout my brand building experience.
What about the idea of, so obviously you dabble in a lot of projects, right? You have the podcast, you have your foundation, you have obviously a Frugal Athlete, as we spoke about. I'm sure you're building something out this weekend. I'm sure it's on the way. So
just wait. I'm telling you, just wait. I just got the email today.
You see?
Yeah.
I think I saw a tweet where you were talking about the merch, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll share with you offline.
Okay, cool. So listen, you're all over the place, right? And that's again, you're doing a great job leveraging the brand you've built to be able to build businesses, build movements, build, projects. So if you were to give advice to, again, a professional athlete now who, maybe hasn't launched anything, but is interested in leveraging their brand, interested in, marketing themselves through a product or a service or whatever, what would you advise them in terms of the process for launching a new project or launching a new brand? This can be vague.
No,
I know that.
I would say, to be honest, just do. As athletes, we're in the results-oriented business. So it doesn't matter if you come up with like the greatest play or the greatest scheme. If you don't execute it on the field, then it doesn't really matter. But there's people that actually try it, and then all right, that didn't work. So now you can iterate. But if you have a good play and you're like, it's not going to work, let me just not try it. We'll do something that we're used to. You'll never really know. And so as athletes, we are good when it comes to accepting criticism or learning from our mistakes or, seeing what works and then doubling down on it. So why not apply it to some of the passions that we have outside of the field or outside of the court? I think, our skills translate so well in different spaces, whether it's entrepreneurship, marketing, corporate, and how we leverage that, because our window of opportunity is so small unless we expand it by telling our brand side or telling our story, using our personal experiences to, change the narrative of something that we may be trying to, get across. And I think athletes and sports is something that's going to stand the test of time. Since the Stone Ages, entertainment has become through sport, whether it's people fighting. Now it's, you got these more complex sports, and through our experiences, we can do a great thing. So I could say just start and fail forward. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
I like that. That's true. That's true. And you're right. Athletes have all the transferable skills in the world to be successful at anything they apply themselves to. So I think that that's important to build off of that question, right? So you said, run the play, right? Just not jump out the window, but just run the play, execute, and do that to the best of your ability. So to keep it on that analogy, right? A lot of athletes are used to getting direction, getting that play from a coach, right? In the entrepreneurial space, right? The marketing space, the branding space, like that's more so, for the most part, it's more so drawing up your own play and then running it and executing it. So from a point of view of like collaboration off the field, right? Can you just speak to that a little bit? If I'm an athlete right now and I'm trying to figure out how to create my situation, how to build a brand, how to, create a product, whatever the case may be, what advice do you have for partnering with the right people who can act as your coach or who can act as your, co-founder and help you draw up those plays to be able to run it and execute it?
No, that's a great point. I think I should try to make like a case study content series about this. So you see some of the best athletes when it comes to business, they have a teammate that helps them, like a 1-2 punch. Obviously, there's a greater team around it, but, you have that 1-2 punch. So obviously, everyone talks about LeBron James and Maverick Carter. And this is coming from a book. Shout out to my guy, Ricky, Rocket Fuel and Traction, by the same author. Talks about visionary and integrator. So first and foremost, you got to identify which one are you. Are you the visionary? Are you the one that sees the ideas? Or are you the integrator, the one that's going to like put the pieces together? So once you figure that out, then you got to find the opposite piece. So we'll say LeBron James is the visionary and then Maverick Carter is the integrator. So they've been able to build, one of the best businesses because they're able to come together, build a team, figure it out, and work together. And this goes all the way down the line. You can go Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman. You can go Steph Curry, Jerron Smith. You can go Matt Hillman and Josh Hart. The list goes on and on. Serena Williams and her, I'm not sure the name of her advisor that she just signed on, but, everyone has a teammate or a coach or someone that's helping them, build out what they need to build out. And I think, for me, especially as athletes, we want to do it all on our own. That's what we're used to. We love the pressure. We put it on our shoulders. We can get it done. And that's good, but over time, it's just going to wear you down. So might as well bring the right people in place, some people that can see it from a different lens and help you. So I'll tell you right now, the way Frugal Athlete has gone up since built a team and shared the responsibilities and delegated, it's night and day. It wouldn't be where it is now if I wouldn't have, got an operator or got a social media manager and realize that, yeah, it's cool to handle everything, but it's also cool to come up with the idea, write out the systems and processes for it, and then, shift it out to the next person in line. So yeah, that's kind of what I have when it comes to athletes.
Yeah, that's all good information. That's all amazing. I know someone right now is taking a whole bunch of notes in a notepad. But yeah, I agree. I agree with you. And I think a lot of people, it's like they treat their business like their baby, So it's almost like or even not even a business. Sometimes it's just the idea, right? They treat the idea like a baby. So they don't want to give it to anyone else. But I think that, and I'm even myself, right, I'm not where I want to be yet. I'm getting there, but I'm realizing that as well, that is the best way to scale as fast as possible. It's the best way to, kind of reap all of the benefits of the hard work, right? By making sure that you have a team in place to be able to help you execute some of the things that you're looking to execute. And then you shift your mindset to like maybe more strategic stuff, more future thinking, conversations and different approaches to what you're trying to build. So I agree with you.
No, facts. Name like a billionaire that has 100% of their company. And
Yeah.
if you can find one, then let me know, because I need to do more research, but it takes a team.
Yep. Strategic marketing partnerships. So it's in the book, the Cases and Culture book, but I also posted something about the Kanye deal that came out. Kanye, you have Rihanna and Fenty, right? $1 billion brand. You have Swiss Beats, Timbaland, and Triller, right? $1 billion valuation in terms of Triller, right? So they have equity in that. You have Jay-Z and, Ace of Spades, and then, the other deal he did with Square. So it's like these strategic partnerships are the life of, as you said, wealth, right? Generating that wealth, being able to get the resources you need to be able to do what you want to do as fast as possible. I'm so encouraged that like our culture is getting these examples before them, and it's like hitting us back to back to back. We're seeing these people evolve with time. We're seeing the use cases. We're participating in it. A lot of us had title, right? So it's like a lot of us experienced, verses. So it's like we're participating in this. We're also seeing the fruits of the labor, of the hard work. So it's like, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, you hit the nail on the head. And if we take it even back to the playground, when you playing basketball at recess, and it's like, all right, pick your squad. You're gonna pick strategic partners that are trying to help you win the game. And you take it to basketball. People are free agents, and obviously there's a different competitive nature to it, but they're picking strategic partners that are going to help them ultimately win a championship. And you take it to finances. You find partners that are going to help you build out your financial stability. So like you said, we're seeing it now, and we're like changing our mindset around it's okay to have a team around you. It's okay to be open and, build out, from the ground up with the people that helped you get there. So no, I appreciate you sharing. And yeah, I saw your post on that and I was like, bookmark, let me save that.
I appreciate that. Okay, so a couple more questions. I know we're a little over. How much more time do you have?
As long as you need, man. This is a long time coming. So I feel like I owe you an extra hour or two just because you were so patient with me. So
hour or two. No, listen, man, I wouldn't do that to you on a Saturday night. I wouldn't do that to you on Saturday night.
Respect.
So a couple more for you. What excites you, right? We're talking like platforms, and things of that nature. What excites you in terms of, marketing, branding, even finance for over the next 12 months?
Man, it's crazy because I feel like I'm going to say something and like a week comes by, there's a new platform. Even just to start the year, I was like, okay, Clubhouse is really popular. I'm going to build a strategy around Clubhouse. And I'm big on Clubhouse. I'm bullish on Clubhouse. Or just
I see you on there a lot.
Yeah, just audio in general. And then next thing I know, NFTs come out. I'm like, oh, now I got to learn a whole new thing. All right, so now I'm like, all right, how can athletes leverage NFTs? We've seen Patrick Mahomes, Robert Gronkowski, but like I still don't understand it. And so that's why I'm learning. That's why I'm trying to. But for me personally, I think audio is going to be a game changer for everybody. Especially in this, I don't want to say gig economy, but this multitask, hard work, entrepreneurship economy. A lot of people are doing a lot of different things at the same time. And audio's, I don't want to say the only platform, but it's one of the very few platforms where you can, write a blog, but also listen to a podcast, or be in a clubhouse moderating a room, but also cooking your meal prep for the next week. Driving, so audio, I'm big on audio. I think every athlete should have some type of audio base platform, some capacity. So I'm really focused on audio and the way that some of these companies are spending money. You've seen it. I mean, I know you're going to do a case study on Earn Your Leisure at some point within 2 years, the way they've grown. JJ, if you think about athletes with podcasts, JJ Redick and like what he's done.
Yeah, all the smoke. Steven Jackson and those guys.
Yeah, Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson. You got knuckleheads, like and the way athletes can tell a story and provide lessons. I'm big on audio, so yeah, that's me.
It's so interesting that in terms of collective bargaining and all that stuff, with the NBA and leagues like that, right? You have the fight over intellectual property in terms of like, okay, this is, my face, leveraging it for a video game, or this is my jersey, leveraging it for, I don't know, creative and selling that. My highlights, leveraging my highlights, and we want revenue share there. But it's like over the years, player voices are turning into like IP monetizable opportunities, that and their stories. Their story is unique because they were only able to experience those things. So the combination of their voice and then that exclusivity in terms of specific stories that no one else can tell, no one else has the credibility to be able to tell, right? It's just a whole new market. The barrier to entry is super low. It's crazy how people can record podcasts from their iPhone, a high quality podcast from their iPhone with apps like Anchor and stuff like that. So it's, as you mentioned, everyone needs to be on. There's no excuse. It's the easiest way to build your brand and to promote what you're doing, but even just to kind of provide that depth. Gary Vee says, instead of width, trying to focus on depth sometimes. And it's like, it's important. That depth is important. It helps build affinity for your brand, for you as a brand, for the brands that you're looking to launch. And then it just gives you a different, emotional relationship with your fans, with even owners, with investors, whatever the case may be.
No, you bring up a great point. I mean, we've just seen it recently with I Am Athlete and what Brandon Marshall and company have been able to do. Just like, it's just something about athletes telling their story. And for example, I know Kyrie Irving, he was in my crossover to business class. So whenever he does something, I'm always like in tune. Like when he's decided he wasn't going to do interviews with the media. Imagine if he did post-game interviews on his own, like, all right, after the game, I'm doing it on Clubhouse. You guys can ask me anything y'all want.
That's crazy.
Game changer. People are going to be like, all right, I'm willing to pay. And how do I get a Clubhouse interview? And then, I mean, you saw when Elon Musk was on it and Bill Gates was on it, like how Clubhouse crashed. So athletes, I mean, it's just, there's so many opportunities, and it doesn't have to be audio. I'm big on e-commerce as well, digital courses. I feel like not enough athletes are doing enough when it comes to digital courses, text message marketing, community building. Yeah, the possibilities are endless because, as you know, athletes, especially like if you take the NBA players, people follow, they're fans of the players now and not the teams. And it's starting to become more and more to that model. So how do you build, your own community within that? And sorry, I'm going on a tangent because it's just so exciting. And,
no, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah,
you can't tell me you're going on a tangent when I sit in Clubhouse rooms for 3 hours a day, like listening to people that I don't even know just talk about marketing and business and stuff. So it's not man. I could do this all day. In terms of tools, so obviously you're doing a lot, right? For managing your schedule, your professional schedule, right? And then all the projects that you're working on the side. I know you said you have a team, but are there any specific tools, apps, digital resources that you use to kind of execute all of your efforts across the board?
Yeah. So first things first, if it doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't get done. So Google Calendar. So obviously I put everything on Google Calendar. It's like, even like call my parents, I'm putting it on Google Calendar. And it's crazy, like the time we're in, but I'm really big on time blocking and just like having everything written. Calendly. So it really helps in terms of setting up interviews, meetings, different things like that, especially when you're scheduled, because it's kind of already ingrained with your calendar. So if you're like, instead of like going back and forth, emailing back and forth, like, are you free this day? What these time blocks, these time frames? Yo, here's my Calendly. And it's not as like, oh, here, talk to my assistant. It's like, it's more a little bit personal. I'm not at that level yet where I have an assistant. So Calendly works, and it's Black owned, Nigerian owned, founded in Nigeria. So
$1 billion valuation.
Yeah, so you got to support. And he's a great guy. I connected with him on Instagram. So power of social media and branding. Just I think someone said it best. Like, you got people that shoot their shot in the DMs when it comes to ladies, but they don't shoot their shots when it comes to business opportunities. So ever since then, I'm like, yo, love what you're doing. Like, would love to connect.
No, it works, man. It really does. People like that. They love being appreciated for their hard work. So
Facts.
you tell them that you appreciate what they're doing, and I think that's the best way to at least approach it, and then from there you see what's possible.
No,
but you're right.
Facts. And then also I got Trello. It's a project management app. I also got Airtable. Trello I like a little bit more just because I'm more used to it. And then in terms of the social media content calendar, because I can't just post every day, I use OnlyPoll. But if you guys are using OnlyPoll, don't take advantage of it because I'm not trying to have that stuff canceled on me. So treat it with respect, please.
You said it's called what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
OnlyPoll, ONLYPULT.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, game changer,
Okay.
bro. Game changer. You can even schedule stories and stuff. I know it's similar to Later and Buffer and all that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I got Trello, I said OnlyPoll. What else do I use? That's really it in terms of scheduling. And I think the biggest thing that I did with 2020 is just have a system for everything. So now it's step-by-step guide. So for example, say I do a podcast interview. It's all right, I set up the Calendly where if I get a guest on, they already have their bio information filled out, what they want to provide in the show notes, the headshot, everything I need transferred over to the show notes. So now I'm not now I got to go on Wikipedia and now I got to go on this and write out the bio. I already have my bio set up. So from there, I got a step-by-step process. All right, upload to YouTube, create cover photo on Canva. Oh, Canva is an app too. Got to use Canva. Game changer.
Canva is amazing.
Yo, if I would have known, I would invest. This is not financial advice, but Canva is,
Incredible.
What they say, to the moon, hold on for life. Canva, game changer. I don't know anything about graphic design.
Diamond hands, Canva.
Yeah. Yo, when I found out you can do the background image eraser on Canva, I was take my money, whatever.
Seriously.
And I know we're going on a tangent on Canva, and if they're listening, they might have to sponsor this episode. but for real, Canva hasn't even scratched the surface. If they make a couple acquisitions, they have integrated OnlyPoll because you're already making the templates on Canva. But why do I have to download it and then upload it on my social media channels? I should be able to have it integrated there. If they bought Headliner, one of those apps, Canva's, I'm bullish on Canva. So I talked about Google Calendars, Calendly, time blocking, Canva, OnlyPoll, Trello, Airtable. That's pretty much it. Oh, and then building out the system. So having a structure. So I was talking the podcast, so building out the cover for YouTube, uploading to YouTube. From there, uploading to Anchor because my podcast will run on Anchor. Show notes, links, description, all that. Upload, create the templates, create the clips, and then build it out. So that's kind of it. And I have that for each process that I do. And also I have Zoom. Zoom is a game changer when it comes to, that's where I do my podcast. It uploads gallery view, speaker view, and then audio. So being able to have different versions, even though they charge your arm and a leg, at this point, it's worth it for me.
Have you experimented with Zencastr?
Yeah, I love Zencastr. Yeah, okay. Zencastr, I was using it more earlier because I didn't have an editing team, but now I have an editing team, so I use Zoom. But Zencastr just added the video option as well. So yeah, you might have to make that big head.
It's not 1080p. Well, actually, it depends on the guests and your camera. But I think it goes up to 1080p. But they're still trying to refine it. But it's good. It's good so far. I have no complaints. Okay, as the digital and content landscape is continuing to evolve, how are you remaining a student of the game? What are you using to educate yourself to remain sharp, to remain innovative?
So following people like you. I'm on Clubhouse in those marketing rooms trying to see what's going on. I think it can be overwhelming because, for example, I just learned about TikTok, and then by the time I learned about TikTok, Reels comes, and then by the time Reels comes, now it's hey, forget about that. You need to be on Clubhouse. So you can get pulled a lot of places. I think what's most important is sticking to what works for you and then building out. So you set depth and then build the width. You can't be everywhere at once, and it's tough. When you got people like Gary Vee, and you see them literally everywhere. But you forget that they have a team. Not everyone has a D-Rock and a bunch of employees that can cut your content and have it out like that. But at the same time, there's ways that if you're a one-man shop or a one-woman shop or a small team, there's ways that you can kind of do it. So, for example, now I'll show you real quick. So I got this, and I have my ring light and my phone. And so when I'm doing Clubhouse, I'm recording it too. So now I have not only audio from the Clubhouse, but I also have video. And then there's apps where you can transcribe it. So instead of me remembering what I said, transcribe it, edit it up. So now I have 3 pieces of content in the same amount of work. So there's different ways, there's different hacks, but just trying to learn from the best. I'm reading Expert Secrets right now. Game changer already. I'm not even 20 pages in. just in terms of building a community and marketing. So always learning, always learning.
You said Russell Branson?
Yeah, Russell Brunson.
Okay. Brunson.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to check. Every time I'm in an interview and I ask someone a question about books, I add it to the cart immediately.
Oh, okay.
I don't play it.
Hey, and good looks on that COVID book list.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
That was a game changer.
I meant to send a follow-up email to everyone on that mini listserv and just see if people are enjoying it, what books they like. I think that could have been a cool little book club, digital book club,
Really? I got that list. I was like, Audible subscription canceled.
Right. Exactly. I mean, happy I could help. Someone blessed me, so I just said, let me, I went in, I posted on Twitter, and 600 people hit me up at the same time. So it's cool. Last question. What's one skill that you recommend each listener can learn to become a better marketer or a brander in 2021 and beyond? If you can name one.
Oh, damn. It has to be one, because I would say I got three.
Okay,
right?
a couple. No problem. Go ahead.
I would say public speaking. So everyone thinks public speaking, like, you got to be in front of large crowds. And I would say podcasting has helped me tremendously when it comes to public speaking. Understanding the flow of a conversation, knowing when to butt in, knowing when to lay low, asking the right questions, leading questions, setup questions. I don't want to say trap questions, but trap questions. Podcasting has, been a game changer for me. And not only being the interviewer, but also being the interviewee. So if you can find yourself to get on podcasts, helping your friends, there's always a friend that has a podcast offering to be on their show. Definitely. And this goes into Clubhouse too. If you're on Clubhouse, try to get in those rooms and try to speak up, ask questions, share your insights. That's a game changer for me. Project management, vital. I think everyone should take, whether you got a LinkedIn Learning or Coursera or whatever, Skillshare, try to find a way to project manage, because it helps you with the ebbs and flows of your strategy and marketing. So say you have a product launch, say you have a blog, how are you able to, execute from start to finish? Copy. And I used to think copy, what's copy mean? And apparently it's how to title headlines and stuff like that. And I've gotten better over time. It's you have to do a combination of clickbait without being too clickbaity. You got to master that. It's a trick.
And being concise as well. It's a lot.
Yeah. It's if you can learn copy, your engagement will go through the roof. It's something I'm still trying to get better at, but I've been growing and developing more consistently. And I know it doesn't really tie into marketing too much, but if everyone can learn Excel, I think I would say that's mandatory. So I'm taking an Excel class, not right now, but it's in the very near future. And although it doesn't directly affect marketing and branding, it will have an indirect positive effect on the things I'm doing. So sorry, I kind of went on a tangent. But
no, that's perfectly fine. The more, the better. I like to start with one just to, see if not overwhelm the guests. So I appreciate that. All right. So now we're going to transition into the final segment. It's the rapid fire section. 5 questions. Just answer it as quick as possible. And if you have any questions, just let me know and we can talk it through. But first question, one book, podcast, or content series that's helped you along your journey. And I know you already shared one book. So if you wanted to, kind of focus on podcast or content series, you can do that as well. But whatever you choose.
Podcast series, I got to keep it. Market Mondays.
Hey.
Master Investor, Ian Dunlap with the Earn Your Leisure Boys, Game Changers. I was going to say how I built this, but we're going to keep it black power today. So Market Mondays, they're on YouTube every Monday, and then I think they repurpose it on their podcast platform.
Dope. What's the best piece of life advice you've been given to date?
I'll just keep it with the standard one. All you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. My dad used to say that to me growing up, and I think it's the mindset I've taken in terms of doing all these different projects, embracing different, opportunities, connecting with different people. If you give it your all, that's all you can do, and all you can do is enough. Good things will happen, and that's kind of the mindset that I like.
That's fire. I like that. What's your favorite quote or mantra that helps you through challenging times?
Oh, man. I would say the most dangerous thing in the world is an athlete that knows he can compete in another arena. So, and that wasn't my quote. It was my guy, Ryan Neese, put me on to that. he said it, and I was like, hold up, can you say that again, please? Because it was a
Now
bar.
you got to steal that, man. That's you. You said that. Now, you said that.
So I think for me, it's just like, don't get boxed in, and it's not just for athletes too. It's, a lot of people do a lot of different things. And I think when you understand that the qualities that you have, the skill sets that you have, the experiences you have can help you compete in another arena, that's a dangerous thing, because society tries to box us in to these norms and, different things that they put their projections on you. For me, so it's like, oh, you're going to school and playing professional soccer? You're doing this business and playing professional soccer? I was like, yeah, so that's kind of it for me.
Yeah, man. When athletes figure it out, right? When they develop that, and it's coming, right? Because again, like, the entrepreneurs are superstars now, right? It's not just Jay-Z and Drake and LeBron. It's not. It's Gary Vee. It's these folks who are, moguls, right? So I feel like once athletes tap into the potential they have and realize that, there's more to them than just being able to run up and down a court or a field, I think it's going to be a game changer. We're going to see a lot of billionaire athletes just scaling businesses and leveraging their likeness, and then developing the skill set like you did, going back to school, getting their MBAs, apprenticeships with other business folks and entrepreneurs, and it's going to be crazy. So,
oh yeah, I'm so excited to see it. It's going to be amazing. Even, and I don't want to, you like rapid fire, but like Misty Copeland and Under Armour, they severed ties, and that's like a blessing in disguise. Imagine her creating her own e-commerce apparel line. It's game changer.
Yeah.
So
but it starts with a shift up here, though, to feel like, listen, man, it's going to be hard, but it's worth it. It's a shift from the whole regular endorsement situation and, collect that check and perform the deliverables and all that stuff. But nah, man, that's where the money is. That's where the money is. That's where the opportunity. That's where the freedom is. That's where the fulfillment is.
Yeah, you don't got to wait is this okay to drop, or we can do this collab? Like, nah, I have this idea. I'm going to put on apparel and we're going to ship it direct to market, direct to consumer. Yeah, the sky's the limit. And it's just like, that's just one sector, like you said.
Yeah. Next question. If you could choose anyone to be your mentor, who would it be?
Oh, damn. Dead or alive?
I'll give you either or.
Okay. Oh, it's supposed to be rapid fire. Let me go. I'm going to go Junior Bridgman. Yeah, Junior Bridgman. I mean, a lot of athletes are starting to come around to, what he's done. So I would say Junior Bridgman. I need to connect with him in some capacity.
And the last question, who's on your board of directors and what's their relation to you? So your personal board of directors.
Damn, and you asked this question on your podcast, so I should know. Like, I should have been prepared for this. So on my board of directors right now, I got John Harris. He's been a mentor of mine since my rookie year. He's the one that helped me with my career development. And he's the founder of AthLife, a career education platform for athletes with their education and career post-career. So he's for sure board of directors. I would say Andrew Hawkins, and he's someone that when I started a Frugal Athlete that I kind of modeled. I was like, all right, he's doing it the right way. He's a good wide receiver. He's not like Julio Jones or anything, but he's going to Columbia, getting his master's, interning to Spring Hill Company and Uninterrupted, built that into like his own conglomerate. I was like, I got to connect with him. So I've been able to connect with him. He has a lot of good things coming up in the works. So he's on the board of directors. I would say, does my parents count?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So my parents for sure. I run things by them. They have a great, I can say, brutal honesty. I think Toby Nwigwe said it best: negative encouragement.
Yeah.
Nigerian parents are excellent at negative encouragement.
Story of my life. Yes.
So they will give it to you real, and they might not be supportive from the beginning just because they're protective and don't want to see you fail. But trust me, once you are successful, they're the ones that are praising you from the very beginning.
Exactly. Both on your behalf.
Yeah. So then after that, probably, and then my brother, my immediate brother, and then my two best friends, Kofi and Kyle. So that's my board of directors. But it's always expanding. I'm all about collaborating. I'm probably missing a few people, but yeah, that's it.
Okay. I appreciate the time. That's the end of Rapid Fire. Anything that you want to plug, any projects you want people to kind of drive towards to go check out, this is your opportunity.
Nah, just thank you for having me on the podcast. If you want to tap in with me at Amobi Says or at a Frugal Athlete, I tend to respond very quickly, always about collaborating. If you are a marketer and brand and you are big on or know how to get sponsorships, if you're good at e-commerce and you want to help me out, hey, let's make it happen. I got some ideas, but I need to bring it to life. So yeah, that's it.
Dope. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time, and this was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Most definitely. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. We hope you found immense value in the discussion. More importantly, though, we also hope that you were able to kind of take away some practical gems that you can use to power your hustle today and act on them immediately. For episode notes, for resource lists, for cheat sheets, for extended show notes, please visit Clout101.com. And also to stay up to date on all things Clout101, we ask that you please follow us on Instagram. It's at Clout101 MKTG. So at Clout101 MKTG. Lastly, and I mentioned this in the intro, but I have to stress this. Lastly, it would mean the world to us if you left a rating for us on Apple Podcasts. And if you don't use Apple Podcasts, just please feel free to pass this episode to any one of your friends, family members, professional contacts that you think can leverage this. We're available everywhere on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, everywhere. So just check us out. Please spread the word and, feel free to reach out to me directly to provide any feedback, suggestions. Always looking for feedback on future guests. So, please shoot me a DM on Instagram or shoot me a message on LinkedIn, and I'll be sure to reply immediately. I'm Idia Ogala signing out. Stay safe, blessed, and encouraged. Peace.